This presentation is about the emerging model of early high school graduation and board exams. So this would be a whole new way of structuring high school, starting at the end of 10th grade, where students would take a series of board exams based on the curriculum, and either they pass or they fail. And students who pass would have two options. They could start immediately at a community college, or they could continue in high school and take college prep or advanced classes in 11th and 12th grade. Students who fail would go back and take remedial courses. Each individual student would get an individual plan that would help them focus on the coursework that they need to keep working on. And they would take the test again at the end of 11th grade. If they fail it again, they could take it again at the end of 12th grade, and so on. So, who are the pioneers of this idea? One of them is the National Center for Education and the Economy. They have a program called Excellence for All, and they have gotten some grants for schools to do some pilot programs from the Gates Foundation. And another one I read about was the American Diploma Network, which supports standards and accountability systems in several states. And so this model is inspired by successful systems in high-performing countries like Denmark, England, France, Finland, Singapore, and also based on internationally recognized programs like Advanced Placement or International Baccalaureate, IB. And so why do we need it in America? There's a lot of talk now about rigor and relevance and putting more rigor and relevance in the high school curriculum, preparing students for college and workplace readiness. And another problem that students at open admissions colleges are struggling with is the need for remedial courses. Once they get there, they find that they're not prepared for college work. And we also need to compete on an international level in a globalized economy. So we need international standards. I think that this model has a high potential for diffusion, especially because a lot of states are already moving towards a core curriculum with common standards. So it would be easy to have board exams that would be based off of the core. There are already several comprehensive exams that are recognized by high schools and colleges in the US and in countries around the world. AP, IB, the ACT's Quality Core exams, College Board's Advanced Placement International Diploma Program, and the University of Cambridge's International Examinations, which are used in 150 countries. And I see that a lot of high schools are already forming partnerships with local community colleges and local universities to give students the opportunity to start taking those courses in high school. So it would make sense if we were just able to give them the opportunity to pass exams and then move on with advanced coursework or go straight into community college. There is some criticism of this, of course. A lot of people in the US would think of this as tracking, which is more common in the countries that were mentioned where this system exists. And the National Center for Education and the Economy really wants to stress that they don't see this as closing doors, but rather opening doors for students when they're ready. And they're not putting students on a particular path, but students are able to choose which path based off of their results and their performance. Another question is, should success be based on a series of tests? And would these tests be rigorous and relevant and show what students actually know and can do? These kinds of programs would require extra resources for students who are either entering high school behind so that they can catch up and pass their 10th grade tests, or for students who do not pass the first time because they would need an individual program, remedial program. And requiring extra resources isn't necessarily a bad thing as long as those resources are equally distributed across schools, but we know historically that that is not always true. In high need schools, there would be, more students who would be behind and they would require more remedial courses and more individual programs and so on. And finally, would colleges and universities accept exam scores instead of a diploma? And this is something that colleges and universities would have to be on board with the high schools who are piloting this kind of program and recognize instead of a degree that they would be passing a series of tests. So instead of accumulating credits, you're meeting certain standards, basically. In conclusion, it does seem that a lot of high schools are exploring opportunities to offer advanced courses, partner with technical schools, and prepare students for further training or education, including the high school where I'm working at right now. And I think it would be better if this system was more standardized across schools. What kinds of students should be taking which courses and when? I think board exams would show student readiness for various programs and coursework. And it would also provide student opportunities for more advanced students who would like to take AP classes, and struggling students who need more time to meet those 10th grade standards. And that's okay if they need to go back and spend another year working on that coursework to meet those skills rather than graduating without them. And I think that there would be a possibility of preventing dropouts this way because we would be providing education and training geared towards their goals. And if they need to take more time to meet those standards, then that's okay. And if they're ready to move on, then they can. And if they want to enter the workforce right away, that would be okay. If they want to move on to technical training, that would be more relevant to them and their career goals, then they would have that opportunity. So overall, I think it's an interesting program that's worth um, considering, especially because it's so successful in a lot of other countries, and especially because we are moving towards a global society where we need to compete by international standards. And these are my references. The Excellence for All policy brief from the National Center for Education and the Economy is has a lot of great resources for high schools and who are interested in taking on this kind of program, and how they can get funded and how they can get started with that. So there we go.